Hello, you're listening to Over the Oxer podcast with Tracy Cole for all things to do with the mind for equestrians. Several years ago now, I did, as part of a workshop, a little session about smells triggering confidence. And we had lots of different smells. We had little bottles of essential oils. We had mixtures of different smells to see if we could link it to riding confidence. And we had a lot of fun doing it. So I want to tell you a little bit about the background to the science of smells and triggers for confidence. Because smells and emotions are really intimately linked. If you think about something like colouring crayons and you think about the smell of them, you can probably remember the smell of them quite easily, and maybe it takes you back to being a small child. What about the smell of haylage? Does that evoke memories and feelings about horses or freshly cut grass? Does that evoke memories or feelings of summertime or springtime? You know, for me, the smell of the sun cream, Ombre Solaire, that was really old-fashioned sun cream now, but it was a sun cream that my mum and dad used, and it was probably about factor 2 or something like that, but it reminds me of childhood days on the beach in Wales, you know, and there's lots of other smells that instantly can take you back to a certain time or a certain memory, a certain feeling. And that's what we want to make use of. We do it naturally all the time, but can we make use of this really strong link between smells and feelings? And smells are really emotive, as we know, and they can really help you to think about the place or a person and really recall a time. And you might even find yourself dropping into a memory and almost being there again and reliving it. And we make use of this, and we'll talk about that in just a moment, to a specific emotion or set of emotions. So you can imagine feeling confident or successful, motivated or determined, whatever you wanted, and have that feeling coming flooding back to you when you smell a very specific scent. And I think this is really useful because you can imagine taking that smell in a little bottle, you know, and giving it a little sniff and feeling that you're taken back to the emotion. So why a scent or smell? Because when we do our NLP training, we don't often use smells. We use visual cues, you know, so when you see something specific, so when you see your horse or you see your saddle, or sometimes we use touch cues. So when you touch your reins, or when you touch your horse's neck, or you tighten up the girth. But I'm going to talk all about smells because memories and emotions that are linked to smells tend to be even stronger and even more vivid. And this is because of the way our brain is put together. The part of the brain which handles all the smells, the olfactory bulb, is quite close to the parts of the brain that are to do with memory and emotion, so the hippocampus and the amygdala. And that must have been really important for primitive man and woman. You know, the hunter-gatherers, they would have needed a quick warning, a quick alert to get out of danger. And maybe that fraction of a second that it takes for sight to link in, you're seeing something that you've seen before and you're realizing that it's a dangerous situation, or you're hearing something, the sense of smell would have got you out of danger just minimal time quicker, but maybe that's the difference between your survival and not. So it's obviously something that we can make use of, even though it's something very natural. And I must just add in here for anyone who thinks that it might be the sight, let's say, of a perfume bottle or the sight of a little essential oil bottle. people have researched this and found that it's nothing to do with the bottle. The bottle, seeing the bottle may evoke something, but it tends to be the scent itself. So there's this natural neural link between smell, memory, and emotion, and that's what we're going to make use of. So for this, I know you won't have it right now, but if you want to try this little technique, then you'll need a smell that you love. And it needs to be something easy to get hold of, and it needs to be bottled in an ideal world. Now, I know a lot of people are going to love the smell of their horse. You could use this, it just isn't quite as convenient. So probably more convenient, more practical examples would include things like essential oils. But just make sure that you're medically okay to sniff these very strong oils. Or you could buy diluted oil, and it would be a little bit cheaper as well. And never apply essential oils onto your skin. We're not going to do any application of the oil onto your skin anyway. We are just going to smell it. But just make sure that you don't have any irritations, allergies, or anything like that. So for me, the smell of lavender is really calming. I really love that smell of lavender. Perhaps you prefer something else. There are lots of calming essential oils, and you can use any one of them. So it could be chamomile or lemon or citrus, frankincense, rosemary. And you can buy these off the internet reasonably cheaply, especially if, as I say, if you buy the diluted versions. Or maybe you've got access to them in your garden, and you could make a little infusion with alcohol or something like that. You'd have to think about the scent of the alcohol as well. Now, some of these actually, all on their own, increase happy hormones like serotonin. For example, rosemary is very good and very calming because it causes a secretion of serotonin. So that's quite nice anyway. So that's a bit of a win-win. Other scents like lavender and chamomile, lemon, mint tend to be mood enhancing because of endorphin release. So again, another win-win. But I want to link it even more neurologically. So rather than linking to neurohormones and neurotransmitter chemicals, I want to have that association that you smell it and the nerve impulses go a particular route, and that particular route is through whatever emotional signal that you want. So when you've thought about what smell you love, then the second thing to do is to think about an emotion. So as I said before, it could be that you want confidence, but you could also want a mixture of emotions: determination, enthusiasm, happiness. And you can choose whatever you want to have. If you choose to do more than one, then you simply repeat the process over and over for each single emotion. Once you've chosen your emotion, think of a time when you felt that emotion. Go back into your past and actually relive the moment. And you want an example that's very intense. So if you're thinking about confidence, very often people who want to be confident in some area, actually when you say to them, can you think of a time when you felt really, really confident? They find it really difficult, and it is quite challenging. So if you've got an example that's very vivid, very intense, you can feel it again as you think about that example, then that's perfect. But if you haven't got an example, then you need to think about how it would feel, how you would be holding yourself, and what you would be feeling. And however you do this, if you're doing it based on a real memory, or you're conjuring it up in your body and you're enabling yourself to imagine and feel and create that feeling, you need to amplify it and make it really strong, far stronger than it would ever be in real life. if you think about confidence, you rarely feel confidence in that way, even if you are confident at doing something. So if you're confident at doing something, usually it's just a breeze and you don't think about it. You might even think it's quite a neutral feeling. For this process, you need to over-exaggerate it, really soup it up, really amplify the feeling. And when you're thinking about an example in the past when you felt that feeling, it doesn't have to be to do with horses or riding. It can be absolutely anything. So if you're doing confidence, it could be confident at work, confident in any area of your life, confident when you drive. It could be anything at all, so long as the feeling is there and the feeling is very obvious and very strong. And what we're going to do, as you begin to feel that emotion, then you get your essential oil and you take a whiff and you keep smelling the essential oil until that feeling is just beginning to wane, just beginning to decrease. And when that happens, take the scent away, put the top back on. And then if you want a second emotion or you want double confidence, then you do it exactly the same. If the memory of confidence is still nice and strong for you and you can still get back that intense emotional feeling, then you can use the same example. Otherwise, go to a different example. So you can double up your confidence if that was your emotion, or you can go to another emotion. Might be calm, could be success, determination, whatever you wanted. And you think of an example of that emotion. And when that's really just starting in you, it's just a seed of an emotion. It's about to grow. You start to smell the scent. And then allow it to get stronger and stronger and continue to smell the scent. And then as it just starts to decline, put the top on or take the scent away. And I would do that 5 or 6 times for the same emotion, for a mixture of emotions, whatever you wanted. And then you're kind of primed. You've linked that emotion to that particular smell. If then at a later date you want to feel that emotion, let's say you're about to ride or about to compete, then all you need to do is to smell the oil. If you wanted to do, you could maybe apply a few drops to your gloves, not to your skin, as long as, you've done a little patch test on your gloves or your clothing. Just be really careful with these things. They can stain, they can take colours away as well. So always do a little patch test. Or you could have a tissue that you've got in your pocket with a few drops of the scent on it. And as long as that's okay for you to get the tissue out of your pocket whilst you ride, then you can continue to fire off that trigger again. You need to, for some people, be smelling the scent for 10 to 20 seconds. So it's unfortunately not a light switch response. It does take a few seconds. So you have to think about where you are, what situation you're in when you're riding, for you to be able to smell that scent once again. It's quite a lot of fun to do this exercise. And of course, you could always just go and get your favourite perfume and douse yourself in that and use that. Of course, people also say anecdotally that horses respond to these smells as well. Perhaps that's something else that you could investigate. Have fun with it. Take care, and I'll see you again really soon.